The thing I want to talk about first is not about the railway, but what the railway is for. And I think part of the problem with the modern railway is that actually it's a very complex environment. It's very busy. There are a lot of people contracting with lots of other people to do various things, either to it or on it. And we have lost collective sight sometimes about what the railway is for. And I think it's really important to talk about what the railway is for, and it's certainly important to an audience like this, because the railway is for creating economic growth, for creating jobs and building houses. Transport is the means by which you achieve it, and the railway is an important feature of transport, but the point of it is to create economic wealth. And I think that the more that we go around and say that in the transport industry, the more credible we are with the money that we need and the things that we do. And I think it's one thing that I learnt in London over the 9.5 years that I ran Transport for London, which is that you get a different and better audience if you talk about what the railway is for. I'm quite happy to explain sometimes what goes wrong, and sometimes it does go wrong, and it went wrong in the old job, and it goes wrong in this one, and that's one of Andy and lots of other people's jobs to fix it. But actually what it's for is to create wealth, and travel is an essential ingredient of creating wealth, because actually more and more we do a business in cities. We decide to go to cities to do business. When we're not doing business in cities, you can now live quite a long way away with modern broadband, but actually you still need to travel to see people. And the consequence of all this modern technology over the last 20 years, I think I must have read at least once a week that somehow we were not going to travel because modern technology was going to give you the opportunity not to. But on a personal note, my wife has recently retired from being a consultant for changing educational establishments, and actually the consequence of modern technology is that she expanded her business horizons from an area 30 miles round Bath to the whole of the United Kingdom and travelled more. And the truth is that I think there's no condition which you can envisage in which our society is going to continue to create economic wealth where people don't travel. So actually that the railway is actually helping and that it needs to be expanded to cope with capacity is a really good thing. My predecessors here spent most of the years in which I was in London making bus conductors redundant, cutting jobs, reducing track mileage, and actually making the railway fit for what was then a declining industry. The difference now is that we've got this growth. We've got growth from the base of a railway which was fitted to the 1980s and 1990s demand, and therefore we've got to do something about making the railway fit for the volumes that it's going to cope with in the future. There is a statistic this speech does say, which is that Wales currently shares the dubious privilege with Albania of being the only nation in Europe without a single mile of electrified railway. So it's quite... Didn't know that before I read it, but there you go. But anyway, it's going to change, and the closure of the Severn Tunnel, which was an entirely necessary thing to do. If you want to electrify a 4.5 mile long tunnel and you want to do it properly, you've got to close it. But they've removed 40 tonnes of soot out of the roof, and they've installed the necessary equipment to run electric trains there. We've promised by 2019 that the line from London to Cardiff will be electrified. As you go to London, next time you do, have a look out between Didcot and Reading. The wires are up. They're energised. If you're lucky, you'll see a new train. And long before the wires get to Cardiff, you'll be travelling on those trains, which will give more capacity and speed. The trains will be running, and progressively we will extend the wires that they can run, so more of their mileage can be done by electricity. What you're now seeing is a volume of work and money spent on the railway which probably has not been spent on the railway from west of Paddington since Brunel finished it. Actually, that's the truth of it. This is an enormous investment. It isn't just electrification. It's not just new trains. It's a whole reconfiguration of the way that the railway will run in order to make it run better and quicker. There's a lot to be done, and there's a lot to be done not just in maintaining and renewing a railway that's being used ever more busily, but actually expanding its capacity as well. And you'll see that actually a lot of this work has to be done at night. There's a balance about how much you can do during the day. You can't have people wandering about on the track anymore playing with the fish plates between trains. It isn't safe. The railway's been killing people. It's been killing its own employees and contractors for 189 years. Last year was the first time in Britain's railway history that we haven't killed any employee or contractor. You think that's an enormous achievement, but it's shocking. And one of the reasons that it didn't is because I'm very proud our Chief Executive, Mark Khan, is a safety leader, and he won't have people doing jobs in dangerous ways. And one of the consequences of that is that you need to fix the railway at night when it's not running, when there's less things running, and it is expensive and it's quite constraining. And if you wonder why we're going to do all this work at Christmas, it's because we will get 2 or 3 or 4 days access to the railway, and we can't have people working on live track during the day. It can't be done. And I can see that you're shocked by it, and I was shocked by it as well. The only worse occupation, apart from volunteering very bravely to be in the armed forces, is actually road maintenance, and that's a scandal as well. So we can't tolerate that. And if you wonder why some of this is done on weekends and nights and Sundays and at Christmas, that's why, because we want all our staff to go home safely, just like you would expect to do too.